The buzz around Bitcoin has never been bigger. And we are today going to talk about the big conference that's happening down in Las Vegas. It's Bitcoin 2025. When I looked at the set of speakers for Bitcoin Las Vegas, I thought it was almost a joke because I started scrolling through the number of speakers and it just kept going and going and going. I don't even know how they can fit that many people in the conference. And luckily, we have boots on the ground. So joining us today is a good friend of mine, Rafael. He's down in Bitcoin Las Vegas, actually listening to the, I don't know, 80s rock or 90s rock that they're bumping in the convention hall. Rafael, welcome to the FOMO show. If you want to just give us a quick introduction, and then we'll start talking about Bitcoin Las Vegas.
What up, guys? Good morning. I am running on about 4 hours of sleep. Could be less because my Fitbit said the sleep didn't register, so it might be less. But I got in about 1:30 last night. I was up at 5:45 this morning. Went and worked out. Decided to hop on with you guys. It was funny when you first asked me. You're like, "Hey, can you do a podcast tomorrow at 9?" I'm like, "Sure." Then a couple hours later, I realized I'm like, "Wait, your 9 or my 9?" And then I realized I had a 7 a.m. podcast. I was like, let's do this. It's wild, man. There's people, the doors open this morning. So you were talking about the people that are here. So I'll just give you a bit of information. So the doors open this morning at 5:30 a.m. for JD Vance to speak at 9. So there have been people camped out in the hall since 5:30 this morning, waiting to get in to hear the vice president speak. And he would, in my
Oh, unfortunately, we lost Rafael. I think. Did we lose his audio for you, Lucas?
Yeah, we lost his audio. As I'm sure he'll be back with us. So JD Vance speaking this morning. Grant, as you scroll down through the speakers, I don't know what I was going to ask what your takeaway from as you scroll down through the speakers.
Well, I mean, the first thing was look at how many speakers there are. This is crazy. Just like it's pages and pages and pages and pages and pages of speakers. Like this is insane. Like look at the number of people that are here speaking. Like I thought at first this was just like a conference set. Like, well, why are there so many speakers? What could these people all possibly have to say?
I mean, there are speakers though, and there are speakers. The vice president of the United States doesn't go to just any conference, and here he is at a Bitcoin crypto conference.
You know what I love though? It's like we have JD Vance, the vice president, and then we have Criminal, and then Michael Saylor. So that I love. That's awesome.
Pardoned Ross Ulbricht.
Well, of course, but still, I mean, like like it's just wild. Like it just shows the sea change, right? Like we went from Bitcoin being this thing that was fringe, that was being used to buy drugs, whatever. Ross Ulbricht was the poster child for all of that kind of stuff. And here he is. He's sandwiched in between JD Vance and the biggest Bitcoin holding company of all time. It's that just like there, the optic is wild.
Well, let's move beyond that though, and into the next tier. We've got the president's 2 sons. We have a senator. We have Brandon Lutnick, the son of the director of commerce, Albert Lutnick.
Hey guys, I think I lost you. Sorry about that.
Oh, welcome back, Rafael.
You're back. Okay, go ahead, Raph. We're just kind of gushing on the.
Well, I was just going to mention, because I could hear you guys, but I couldn't edit. But I was going to mention, you know who else was here? The largest owner of Trump Coin, Justin's son, was here yesterday as well.
Oh no way, Justin's son's
back on U.S. soil.
Soon to be grabbed by the feds, I'm sure.
I doubt it. Not anymore. Which speaks to like a new political realignment here. I mean, at the bottom of the speaker list, we should also add Hester Pierce, one of the directors of the SEC, and along with Udea.
As we go to this next tier, I'm disgusted to see Vlad Tenev on this list. Just disgusted. Like this is beyond. But like to have him and Jack Mallers on the same one, it makes my stomach churn. Just like, come on, that guy should be in jail. Vlad Tenev, ugh.
I mean, what do you think about the CEO of Cantor Fitzgerald and the son of the Commerce Secretary, and also Cantor Fitzgerald custodies the U.S. Treasuries for Tether.
Well, I mean, I don't have as much animosity for the guy that took away the buy button on GameStop. I mean, I don't know, Vlad Tenev, like, I don't know, there should be a crosshairs on that one.
I don't know. There was nothing to buy.
That's right. There were none left. There
was nothing left. I mean, it wasn't his.
Yeah, and speaking, that's actually a good segue on that one, because leading into the Bitcoin conference, we've got news of like huge purchases of Bitcoin which are happening. We've got GameStop buying Bitcoin, and we have DJT announcing that they were raising $2.5 billion to buy Bitcoin. So not only is there huge buzz around Bitcoin from the government side, we've got the vice president there, we've got Senator Loomis there, we've got the crypto czar at Bitcoin Las Vegas, but you have the big companies that are also buying into Bitcoin. So this being the cornerstone treasury strategy for a lot of companies as buying Bitcoin is playing out.
Yeah, the number I heard yesterday was 81 public companies have added Bitcoin to their treasury or some sort of a Bitcoin treasury strategy.
Awesome. Rafael, we didn't get a good intro for you. Do you want to back up and tell us who you are and why you're down there?
Yeah, sure. So obviously you and I know, because I'm on the board for the Minnesota Blockchain Initiative, and then I've got a handful, 3 or 4 different federal blockchain coalitions that I'm a part of. All of this is focused on providing, knowledge to senators, representatives, policymakers, commenting, testifying, trying to get the rules written for those of us who don't want to play in the gray, right? And then I also work with the Puerto Rico Blockchain Trade Association. Oh man, I'm walking into traffic here. This is going to be a rough one this morning. You guys got to give me like 5 minutes. We'll keep trying. Hold on.
Okay, no worries. And so if we keep kind of scrolling down, the other ones that I thought was kind of interesting for people that are here, and I don't remember exactly how far we are, but like you got the majority whip of the U.S. House of Representatives here. I mean, there's like so many government people that are at Bitcoin Las Vegas. I mean, you can clearly see the writing on the wall here, Lucas, that the U.S. government is embracing crypto. I mean, if I had a takeaway, this is the takeaway.
Well, and this was sort of what I was hinting at. Yes, I think not just embracing crypto, but there are massive changes that are going on in the broader ecosystem of the of how we've stacked risk and expectation with the dollar, and I'm speaking primarily of the downgrade of United States Treasury bonds, and also of the big beautiful bill that just passed that increased our deficit by I'm not sure what the number is that it's increased our deficit by, or will increase our deficit by. But we have this issue that government has not been able to solve. I think many Bitcoiners have understood that for quite some time. The broader public is beginning to understand it more. Politicians may have been somewhere in the middle, but they have yet to figure out how to stop the printer, so to speak. And we know that Bitcoin might have a solution for that. So this could be, in some muddled way, what politicians are turning towards, or maybe they have more self-interested motives in mind. Could be both. But yes, there is a lot of politicians on this board.
And if you think about what Rafael was telling us into the lead into the show, he said the doors to the conference opened at 5:30 so that people could line up for essentially a 4-hour wait to see the vice president speak about Bitcoin. That is significant. I mean, you've got people that are willing to jump in and sit in line for a really long time to listen to the vice president speak about crypto. I mean, this is so different than the last administration.
Grant, go ahead, Rusty.
Well, I was just going to say, talk about, the popularity of the actual event. As Grant was saying, 5:30 in the morning, 5:30 in the morning for Las Vegas time. I mean, a city that never sleeps is one thing, but this city's got to be going crazy right now. And as you were saying, the amount of important people that are actually at the event that are just being around it, saying that, it's okay to be into crypto. It's okay to be around this. This stuff, this technology is actually interesting to us, and that's a large change from what we've been seeing before, where crypto is kind of the fringe. Crypto's kind of been the thing you use to break away from the government. And now it's looking like cryptocurrency and the government are almost side by side, hand by hand right now, with the amount of people and the amount of speakers that we're looking through on this list.
I think Rafael had something. Go ahead, Rafael. If you got something, we're all ears.
Yeah, I was gonna say, guys, that the if you've all been here, so it's like concrete jungle, so it's like signal, then no signal, then traffic. But no, the one thing I will say is, and then I'm gonna probably jump, is yesterday I found out that there was 30,000 people here at the conference, and when last year we had 20,000 in Nashville, the number of politicians. So I've had 6 conversations with U.S. senators or reps in the last 6 weeks, and not all of them were on one team or the other, right? So I'm going to try to say it as diplomatically as possible. The amount of people getting the uptake, we had the cloture vote, which happened the other day in the Senate to push the bill to whether it's going to get voted on or not. It had 18 Democrats on it. I think 18 Democrats on it. Like, there's a sea change that's happening. I'm just hoping to be here, and I'm meeting a lot of people building like real products that solve real problems and do real shit. There's not as much synthetic meme pump and dump stuff as there was before, and that's awesome because people are here trying to add real value.
That is definitely interesting to hear that this is not necessarily a red-blue divide, and that's news to me because I don't. Are we seeing anybody in the list of notable Democrats that are speakers, Lucas? I didn't note any.
Yeah, Elizabeth Warren, she's down right there on the 4th row.
Yeah, right. The day that happens, then that's when you know.
If she's here, I'm sending you guys a selfie with her sitting on her lap. If that happens, mark my words. Elizabeth Warren here. I'm going to say, Mommy Warren, I got to sit on your lap here because I need a picture. God, I hope she's not here because I would then have to do that because I'm so committed to this joke that I would actually do that. So this would not be good.
And Tom is repping Minnesota, so we got Tom Emmer, who's the majority whip of the House of Representatives.
If Tom's still here today, I'm going to get a picture with him yesterday. I didn't get a chance. He told me to meet him when he was coming out after he spoke. I've got a video of him that's about a minute long, and he just is bringing his hot, pragmatic fire. And I'll send it to you guys. You can probably cut it in or add it to the audio or whatever. But he was incredible. And I don't know if I told you, Grant, but the one thing that killed me was the first speaker that I walked into was that Chinese, I think he's a billionaire now. He has F2 pool, and he bought a SpaceX trip to space. He was the first. They call him one of the first Bitcoiners in space or whatever. But the conversation, you know me. I'm a real world. What does it do? If your business is when token go up, I'm not interested. Like, how is it helping the bottom 7 billion? Right? That's all my jam. Everybody that knows me knows that. I walk in, and the conversation is, so how do you think they're going to use Bitcoin on the moon? And do you think there will be arbitrage opportunity if they're using Bitcoin on Mars between the transaction times? And I'm just like, yeah, this is really helpful for our credibility that this is a panel. But it got measurably better from there. And that conversation actually ended up being interesting. But it was like, that was what I walked into, and I was like, oh man, what is this conference going to be like? And then I just got electrified because it was just speaker after speaker, and just so many good people adding value, and they really believe in this, and they're going to help us get some of this stuff, whether it's stablecoin, anti-CBDC, Genius Act. They're going to try to push this over the line, and if we can do that, there's so many businesses that will be opened up to actually play in the space because we know the rules, and it's going to be awesome. I'm excited.
Rafael, 2 questions for you. One, how much of the conversation do you hear turning towards strategic reserves and stable coins that are built on top of those strategic reserves? And I'm thinking specifically also Cynthia Lummis and states in their strategic reserves. And my second question is, which panelists are you most interested in possibly have you heard before, and what messages were they carrying?
So, my background, and some of you guys know this. So my background was, I had a couple FINRA licenses enough time ago that my name has fallen off, but now I've got to go back and get some more because I'm changing some of the way I do my business. But, I'm a recovering banker. I'm a former oil and gas executive, and every business that exists, whether it's engineering or programming or banking or all that, like there is black and white rules to the game. And this is, I said this, probably 25 times yesterday because we're doing the conference thing. But I said, when I was walking into some of these meetings with the representatives, and a lot of what I focus on is right now is policy, because that's the place where if we can get a good anchor there, it gives us a springboard to do really cool stuff. So I'm focused on that because in the near term, that's the best bet that we can capitalize on right now. And I was mentioning that when I go into some of these meetings, 95% of the time, they start with the Trump meme coin. Like, what do you think of the Trump meme coin? And then they go to the stablecoin bill or market structure or whatever. And I'm like, oh, okay. But it's like when they start there, they're obviously right not on our side necessarily, or they're trying to find a way for me to like stumble going in. And the way that, and all those states association people, we were together last night, and they're like, how do you back out of that? And I was like, well, I'm pretty clear with it. I said, look, here's the thing. There's this old joke that if you outlaw guns, only the outlaws will have guns. And so what I tell to anybody that I'm talking to in policy is like, look, the people who don't give a shit about the rules are already here doing their thing. The people who care about rules and want to know the rules of the game, until we have clear rules, they will not play this game. But as soon as we have clear rules, they will jump in and play this game because they know what the boundaries are. They know how it's scored. They know which we're going. They know how long the quarters are. I was like, you got to give good rules to incentivize the right actors to be here, or you're going to continue to get more of the same. And so what I'm hearing here is the guy from Kelly Intelligence. He's got Biddy and Baggy. They're 2% month over month paying in Bitcoin. So it's a Bitcoin income strategy for investment, right? So they're using options. They're rebalancing every month, standard 5%, paying out 2% every month. Right? This is an income generating tool on Bitcoin, which you used to do with, regular regulated securities. Now people are doing this on Bitcoin. People's Republic is doing mortgages on Bitcoin. There's people talking about insurance here and decentralized science and all these other things. And so as they speak, you can tell the excitement because they feel like if we can get one of these bills for the people who want to play by the rules so that they finally have some rules, I feel like there's floodgates that are going to open, and it's palpable in the room. It's kind of wild. It's hard to describe, but like you can tell that if people are like, man, if we can get one win that is nonpartisan, that's what Tom Member always says. This is not bipartisan, it's nonpartisan. Dude, when you can get one win that is nonpartisan, that's something for this new version of economics, we are going to see an incredible unleashing of massive amounts of wealth into the industry right now. And so it's crazy. So being here is awesome. 30,000 people is what they said yesterday.
And which speakers are you going to seek out that carry that message? Are you focusing on some of the political speakers that are showing up?
I think we might have lost his audio. What question were you asking? What you're still trying to figure out what panelists?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh yeah. So today I'm going to start with JD Vance, right? Which is, clearly something that, I'm pretty excited about. But
wait, you don't have to wait in line. You get the fast pass. You get into
dude. Industry, homie.
Nice, love that,
dude. So you'll laugh at this. So I've been doing this for, it's going on 7 years now, which is kind of wild to think about. But I took a buddy with me to an event last year, and he's like, "Are you famous?" I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Dude, like every 15th person is coming up and hugging you and talking to you." I'm like, "No, it's because I have access to the people that they need to like make them make money." I said, "So, but we get these industry passes, so." I've gotten to a point where I'm like, oh, if there's a line or there's a list or, or I got to sign myself up, I'm not going to go. I feel like kind of a douche, but it's like, hey, if I'm here and you guys want me to your thing, like put me on the list and I'll show up, So it's kind of funny because it's you know me, I'm not an asshole, but it feels a bit assholeish. But like, yeah, so I'm gonna walk in and hang out, and I think Jack's here from Square, and Saylor was yesterday. I'm trying to think. I kind of wander back and forth
I
because
love how just casually he's like, Jack who? Jack Dorsey, of course. I love that.
yeah. Well, that's why I said something about Tom yesterday, and somebody goes, Tom. I was like, oh, sorry, Whip Emmer, and they're like, I don't know that you can. And we were walking by, and I saw Cynthia. I was like, hey, Cynthia. And somebody's like, I don't know if you can call them by their first name. And I was like, I'm pretty sure I can. I'm a grown up.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, I mean, we'll see. There's a bunch. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna comment on that. That's really awesome and cool that you've got the industry pass. I'm looking on the website for the Bitcoin 2025, and we were talking about the amount of speakers and the amount of people that are attending this conference. I mean, it's really impressive. 400 plus speakers, 30,000 people
Yeah.
at the conference you're talking about, and everybody has to pay to be at the conference. Like this isn't something that you just get to go walk into if you're just a random guy in Las Vegas thinking that it's cool. Like I'm looking at some of the prices. I don't want to just out you with the industry pass, but the regular festival pass is $700 just to get access to days
Did
2
you
and
see
3.
what the whale is this year?
I
The
did.
whale pass
I
for
was
this
looking at
year
the
is
whale pass.
$21,000.
$21,000 to be a part of this event at that level. Like, and it's awesome that you're there at an industry pass level, like being able to rub shoulders with some of these people. I was gonna joke around and say if you've ever met Satoshi, but have you?
The person who I think most fits timing and writing style and programming style and education that I believe would best fit the profile, yes, I have met him before.
Okay, that's cool. Well, we'll save
Yeah.
that for a different show. We'll bring you back on for that one. So, if you're interested and you're listening to this, that'll be an upcoming episode. We'll dive into that topic.
No, I'll definitely have
I
to.
will say,
No, this is definitely really interesting to meet this Rafael. Thank you for bringing him on the show, Grant. It's really awesome to see somebody that's this embedded into cryptocurrency. Like you were talking about being able to walk by a lot of these major players and know them by their first name, and not only know them, but being able to talk to them and mingle with them. That's really great to meet you. I have to message you on the back end and get to know a little bit more about you.
this is the last thing that I will say is Grant and I bonded over the fact that we're both parents, and I am a voracious reader, and I tell people read the oldest books you can find because history doesn't repeat, it doesn't even rhyme, but history is important because if it happened, that means it could happen, right? So everything that could happen is now on the board of possibilities in the future, and I want to make sure that we do not have some sort of AI robot, fiat central bank debt slavery zombie knife fight of a future that I'm going to give to my 5-year-old when I can decentralize and provide access and leverage technology so that everybody can have access to enough tools to get themselves enough. And then that turns down the whole global temperature. I'm just here because I want to build things that matter. And over the last 6-7 years now, I'm finding more and more people that are doing that. And now that Bitcoin is getting more and more mainstream adoption, people are realizing you don't have to come into when Lambo. You can come into when change. And so it's super dope to see people just building, local projects. They're like, hey, we're doing a local organic funding, mechanism for CSAs in our town, or, whatever it is. And there's just some crazy ones that I've come across. There's guys, I met a guy yesterday. He knows one of the Minnesota folks, but he's built a widget that you can install on any building that has solar, that you plug it in and you can turn your solar on your roof into a place where electric cars can come up and plug in and charge and pay in sats. And it bolts onto the outside of the building. You have to wire it, but it's an add-on, which is crazy to me. Like, we're using sats to turn any building that has solar into an electric car charger and then generate sats. That's fantastic. Like, these are the kind of things that I get excited when I come down here and I see, because there's so many people all in one place, right?
Yeah, and I think we almost need to normalize the term of using sats or satoshis, because Bitcoin is the technology and we have traditionally said I have one BTC or whatever. And we're getting to the point where the price of Bitcoin has risen so much. And really, when we talk about the rise in the price of Bitcoin, it's because the dollar is being degraded so significantly that it's risen
Oh
in price
yeah.
where we're getting to the
Pump a
point
bunch
where
more. Let's pump a bunch more garbage treasuries into Tether.
exactly.
I mean, sorry, my bad.
Oh man,
No, that's a topic we
awkward.
love. We love that topic. So yeah,
I
thinking about
gotta give somebody a
Satoshis
dig at some point in these things because everybody knows me for that. All right, guys, I'm gonna be heading in here. I appreciate being on the podcast today. I will connect with you guys when we're back in town. LFG.
Sounds great, man. Like, thanks for coming on. We really appreciate it. Go have fun at the conference, and we'll maybe do a postmortem or something. But have fun, and
Sounds good.
hope
Appreciate you guys.
have fun with your industry pass.
All right, talk to you later.
Right. And just to kind of complete that thought, I think normalizing that whole idea of that Satoshis are becoming like the currency, because I think there's rapidly a day coming where, Satoshis will be maybe worth like a tenth of a cent, a hundredth of a cent, but then someday they'll be worth a cent, and then someday worth a quarter, and someday worth $1. That's where we're headed with this.
Grant, part of the reason that, and I think you're right about that, but there's something deeper that I wonder when we're going to have politicians or members of the Bitcoin community begin to express this. And I'm thinking specifically right now of remarks that were made by the chairman of the Bank of International Settlements. And if you're not familiar with the Bank of International Settlements, it is a central bank of central banks, so that the central banks of the world can settle out with their accounts between each other. And I can't remember his name off the top of my head. Augustine Carstens. He gave a speech a couple of days ago, and the speech was about how foundational to money trust is. And it was interesting to me that the trust that he was talking about was the trust that the leaders of central banks need to have in pricing assets. And I think that that's not the trust that we want from our bankers. The trust that we want from our bankers is that they are going to faithfully carry or to transmit money to the places that we want transmitted, and also, if they're fractionally reserved, not lie about who else they've promised those reserves to, or what sort of deals they've piled on. And so there has been a massive shift in the monetary policy of the governments of the world to rely on the banks to set asset prices. And we see this, we say, how does this inflation get paid for? Well, it gets paid for in repricing our assets. It gets paid for by the Federal Reserve deciding that the Mall of America is worth, $1 million one day and $400 million the next day, and then dishing out loans based on that new price evaluation. That's going to be very difficult to do with Bitcoin, and talking about it in terms of the fractionalized Satoshis of the Bitcoins is still going to limit the financial sector throughout the world limit their ability to reprice assets. So I think politicians are beginning to understand this, governments are beginning to understand this, and that this gives them an alternative to the trap that they've fallen into with the creation of money in the world that we live in now.
There's another thing I'm looking at as I'm looking at this Bitcoin 2025 conference. And we might want to pull up. It's called Coding Country. And it looks like it's a major event that's kind of taking place along with the Bitcoin 2025, where they're trying to bring the Bitcoin code and the government more together. And there's a whole list of side people that are along with it. That's really interesting. Coding Country. didn't really see this as being a part of Bitcoin 2025, but it's definitely something that looks like it's really becoming popular.
Yeah, Industry Day. And the Winklevoss twins are there on it, which is always interesting. Going back to the set of speakers, not to gloss over this, but I'll have to look into this a bit more. But definitely, thanks for pointing that out. Um, to see Peter Schiff on here is super interesting because he's always been very, I don't know, anti-Bitcoin. He sort of started to embrace it, and then when gold started having its run up, he ran right back to talking about gold kind of 24/7. I'm interested what he would have to say at the Bitcoin conference.
He's not necessarily anti-Bitcoin. I would say he's anti what I just spoke about, anti-fiat. When we say fiat, I think the problem that we have is this notion of putting the pricing in the hands of bankers, as well as the trust in what they're promising or what their amount of fractional reserve is. Peter Schiff has never been anti-Bitcoin. He's been anti-fiat. He's been anti-dollar. He has had more faith in gold than Bitcoin. He may continue to have more faith in gold, but I don't think that he's ever been anti-Bitcoin, and he's talked openly about that. He talks about, his son is more into Bitcoin, he's more into gold. I think he may also begin to understand how having two more stable alternatives to fiat currencies or whatever currencies you're in is maybe also preferential, and he probably understands that with regards to the legacy of silver and gold bimetallism in our past too.
Yeah, I mean Peter Schiff has always been kind of a hard money guy, and so his big beef with Bitcoin, and it was the trap that I fell into when I first learned about it. Now this is a long time ago. I'm talking about before I really understood what hard money means and what it means for an asset to truly be limited. Is that he viewed it as magic internet money and that it didn't really have any backing. But as you start to understand Bitcoin more, as you understand what really secures it, what is required to create a Bitcoin, that it's all created through the hard labor, the energy production of the planet, these things start to make a lot more sense. And so he has started to come around on it, but he definitely took his shots at Bitcoin when gold started to have its run up. It wasn't like he was really into it. And I hear you loud and clear that he is anti fiat and wants to be hard money. I still just believe that he would love to be right about gold and somehow for Bitcoin to be wrong. I think that in his heart of hearts, he's still there. And I don't think anything's really going to knock him off of that position. But it would be interesting to hear what he says in this conversation. I just can't. Again, it's such a weird juxtaposition to see the people next to each other. To see Peter Schiff next to Justin Sun, I got to think that there was somebody who was having a hard chuckle when when they put people next to each other, because these two do not belong next to each other at all whatsoever. I don't know if it's just a lark or what they were doing, but some of the positionings of what speakers are next to each other is just absolutely funny. And to have, what is it, the first trillionaires on the planet, the Winklevoss twins, just casually thrown in here, that's funny too. That cracks me up, man.
The first trillionaires on the planet, and they don't even get their own picture.
Yeah, they don't get their own picture. They're still lumped together as if they're some kind of dual-headed entity, and they're below Justin Sun as if they're not more important than Justin Sun. Justin Sun is so he's a criminal and he should be picked up by the feds. And the Winklevoss twins are like genius investors. Like, I don't know what we're doing here.
Yeah, I also like Justin Sun's title of advisor, but no,
advisor. Yeah, like what else has he done? Like he's done nothing.
I would say the speaker that I'd most be interested to hear is Peter Schiff, and for the reasons that we're talking about here. The alternatives or the similarities between gold and Bitcoin, how they sit as an alternative to fiat currencies and the problems that we face in the world today. I think that Peter Schiff has probably thought a lot of that about a lot of that, and might give a talk that is directed at where they are going to lie in the future of world economies, in the very near future of world economies.
Now,
So
is Vivek the only gubernatorial candidate on the list? I know that obviously Tom Emmer has run for governor before, but I don't know that I saw any other gubernatorial candidates that were on this list. So he's very notable here. Was originally slated to be part of Doge, backed out of that, now running for governor. I actually missed that. I wasn't keeping up with what Vivek was planning on doing. So that's interesting.
I haven't been paying as much as attention to Vivek since he left Doge and focused on the Ohio governor's race. So I also think that Vivek had very prescient views onto the problems that America was facing. Not just prescient views, but he articulated them when nobody else did during the last presidential election. Um, he was always refreshing to listen to. I didn't. There was less bluster, and less rah rah in the speeches that he was giving and the debates that he engaged in the last election. So I would also be, of the politicians, probably most interested to hear what he has to say also.
Well, we're coming up on the end of this. I think we've pretty well covered the current energy in Bitcoin. I'm keeping a close eye on what's happening here with respect to the big Bitcoin conference. I think it's notable. I can't wait to hear Rafael's post-mortem on what happens down there. He definitely is somebody who I think will have a very fun insider perspective. I'm glad that he kind of gave us a bit of a teaser taste of what is going on, boots on the ground. It's super exciting to hear all the politicians and different speakers that are down there. This is the year Bitcoin is embraced by the U.S. government. I can't say anything else as the takeaway here. And hearing Rafael say that this is crossing the red-blue divide is super interesting. So I think when we actually see notable Democrats on the speaker list, that's the next big cross. That's the next big interesting thing that I think we'll have to watch for, because I still see a lot of Republicans on here. So it does still feel to me it's a bit of a partisan issue, but hearing that that's not the case from somebody who is inside the Beltway, I think that that's a huge takeaway.
Well, I think that the Democrats are floundering with some of their talking points from the last election in the near past. So it's about time for them to pivot. As far I said Elizabeth Warren jokingly earlier. I do actually think that we might see the likes of AOC begin to latch on to Bitcoin and crypto and break away from the near past of the Democratic Party. So maybe it'll be somebody else, but it's
Well,
going to.
and I think if what Raphael's talking about, because it got a little lost, but repeating that talking point that he had, not how does this benefit the super rich, but how is it that Bitcoin can benefit the bottom 7 billion people that are on the planet? That's a really interesting thing to contemplate. And if that is a message that resonates, and I think it is, because if you think about, you don't have to have enough money to buy one BTC. You can buy as many sats as you have money. If you've got $100, if you've got $50, putting that amount of money into BTC and saving that way instead of saving it in fiat, or instead of throwing it into the stock market, I think people who have been investing in Bitcoin have found returns that have outpaced just about any other asset. So this is not something that is inaccessible to the average person, or a person who doesn't really have that much money, because it's not like the fees are so insurmountable that trying to acquire $25 or $50 or $100 worth of Bitcoin is not achievable. So to think that the poorest people in America, or even the poorest people on the planet, can't benefit from what is about to happen with Bitcoin, I think is disingenuous. It is entirely possible to get it. it is entirely possible that this will help benefit people, because as we see the dollar start to significantly collapse, Bitcoin as a wealth preservation technique, I think, will be looked upon as some of the smartest things that anybody did. And it definitely can help the bottom. And hard money, I think, produces proper investment rather than the fiat system that we're living in produces malinvestment, because the wrong people get their hands on it because it's so corrupt. It's so easy for the easy money to flow into the hands of people who want to do nefarious things with the money that they're getting.
You know, I really liked Rafael's tagline too. It's not win Lambo, it's win change. And I'm glad that I really liked that summation. So yeah,
I love that. Let's end with that. Not win Lambo, win change.
win change.
All right, we'll catch you next time on FOMO.